Hi everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Is Your Data Emergency Proof? Today we'll be focusing on the healthcare industry and the unique challenges they face. Before we get started, I wanted to introduce myself. I am Sonia Hugnew, Director of Business Development for Predictive Technology. I'm really excited that everyone's with us today, and let's go ahead and get started. Predictive Technology was founded in 2003 and is headquartered in Omaha, Nebraska. We are a woman-owned small business that provides products and service for data centers and critical systems. Our customers span across the globe. We have been all over the U.S. as well as internationally, and we are here to provide products and services to help make your life easier when it comes to your data center, data closet, data room, whatever it may be. All of your critical systems, we can help. We have an in-house team of service technicians that are here to help. They have been with us for years, and our service technicians are here from install to troubleshooting to try to come up with plans for you, anything you may need. If you need a simple question answered, they are here to help you. We have chosen our partners that we represent very carefully and ensured we're offering best-in-class products. All of our premier partners are their best-in-class top 10% in the industry in the field. Our backup power partners are going to be Albert, Blue Star Power, Eaton, Geist, Generac, Triplite, Vertiv, and Extreme. And Predictive has worked with a variety of healthcare providers, so we've helped some companies locally actually have some different solutions and solve a lot of problems for their very specific needs. UNMC Med Center is one of them, as well as Methodist Health System. We understand that healthcare industry has a whole variety of challenges that are very specific to their industry. So I wanted to talk about those as they relate to data and explain, why they're such a challenge. And I'm sure, I don't have to explain too much to you, but we just want to go through them with you really quickly. So 24/7 operations, hospitals and especially rural health facilities, they don't have the option of closing. They are open 24 hours, 7 days a week. If that hospital isn't up and running, that could put a person's life in danger, especially someone that needs immediate medical attention. So the 24/7 operations creates a challenge as far as having data accessible and making sure you're always up and running. There literally is no option or time for downtime. Remote facilities, especially when it comes to Nebraska and rural Nebraska, remote facilities are everywhere. So there is a code that says that hospitals need to be within 30 to 45 minutes of each other. So that means that every 30 to 45 minutes there needs to be a hospital out in rural Nebraska. But let's think about that on the other side of it. If a person goes and needs immediate medical care and they go to hospital A, maybe they drive 20 minutes. That hospital's down because of a power issue. They now have to drive an additional 30 to 45 minutes to go see hospital B. And in times where they need life-saving care, that's just not a feasible option. So remote facilities is really a unique challenge that faces the Nebraska area. Expensive high-tech equipment. So when you think of a hospital, you think of ultrasound machines, x-rays, there's all these machines that hospitals have. And that doesn't even include their computers and laptops and phone systems. And this equipment is very special and specialized. It does not like being powered or forced down. So you think about people telling us, oh, don't hard shut down your laptop. Imagine hard shutting down or forced shutting down an x-ray machine. They would not like that, and it just could cause damage to those machines. So with the cost and the high technology of these, really they need to be treated with care. Virtualization of healthcare records and data. So back in 2009, the Health Information Technology for Economic and Clinical Health Act of 2009, it's a mouthful, helped to advance the adoption and meaningful use of electronic health records. Today, actually, more than 95%, so more than 95% of hospitals possess electronic health records. That's a huge amount if you think about it. Back in the day, you would go to your doctor's office and there would be files upon files upon files, those floor-to-ceiling, cabinets, and they would have physical files in them. Well, today that's not the case. Everything is electronic, in a cloud, on a server somewhere, and they're accessing it through their laptop. So when you think about that, if a hospital can't access those health records, that could be a huge problem. Doctors can't treat patients, they can't access records, they can't even probably admit people. And then highly regulated. So this one kind of is a no-brainer and goes without saying. However, I'm actually talking about a different regulation. Power generators and backup power in hospitals is actually very highly regulated. So anytime a generator is turned on, anytime it's maintained, anytime a generator has to take over for power, those items have to actually be reported by the hospital, and those items have to be tracked and monitored. So their backup power system in hospitals is actually very highly regulated. So we've talked about data, data, data. I feel like we keep talking about it. It's the four-letter word we love. Hospitals contain so many data metrics that server downtime is just not an option for them. And moving on, as we talked, data is everywhere in these hospitals. And I know we talked about some of the pieces of the data, but really, if you think about it, we've got health records, medical equipment, internal networks, email, file sharing, secure portals, phone systems, and more. Everything is digitized and everything is living on a server nowadays. So what if these systems were down? The hospital would be at a complete standstill. All this data would be inaccessible because of a power supply issue, and this power supply issue could be big or small. We're not just talking about a huge thunderstorm that knocks your power out completely. Imagine a small power glitch on a bright sunny day just because the grid had a glitch. Those are called brownouts when there's a voltage change, and that can cause just as much damage as a full power outage. And a lot of times, these aren't your fault. I would say most of the time. These power outages are just going to happen, and you have to try to figure out how to get back online. So it's great to be proactive when it comes to your backup power system. Having a very complex and thoughtful backup power system can ensure that you don't experience any downtime and are prepared for these situations when they do occur. We've talked a lot about the issues and the concerns when it comes to healthcare and the data problems they experience, but let's talk about some of the ways that PTI, as well as some of the backup power solutions that can help you. I wanted to go over some downtime trends. This was just released about a week ago by the Uptime Institute, and downtime is going in the wrong direction in 2021 and 2022. Here's a few scary stats about downtime trends that you might not know. Nearly 30% of outages in 2021 lasted greater than 24 hours. So you think 30% of the outages, they're out for a full day. Could you imagine a hospital being shut down for an entire day? And this number, this 30%, is actually up from 8% in 2017. So that is a huge increase. And you think about it, data centers, data closets are getting bigger, so it will take longer to recover if you have more equipment. The next one, downtime is becoming more expensive, so this one is a scary one. More than 60% of failures resulted in at least $100,000 in total losses. $100,000. Now, when we're talking about total losses, we're not just talking about revenue losses. We're also talking about manpower. If you think you have a team of 5 people that help with your facilities and IT infrastructure, if those 5 people can't do their day-to-day job and are only focusing on getting you back up and running after a power incident, that is also loss of productivity, which there's a cost to that. And greater than 60% of failures, this was previously 39% in 2019. So this is definitely going in the wrong direction. And the most prominent one that I thought was so interesting, because it's really what we're talking about today, the most significant outages are usually tied to electrical equipment, especially UPS failure. This is why you're going to hear me talk about this over and over, but service and maintenance is just as important as having the system in. So yes, it's all great to get a brand new system in. You've got solutions. You don't have to worry about downtime. Well, now you have to service it. Now you have to make sure that that system is still maintaining and up and running at its peak performance, and you got to get it serviced. You can't just put it in and leave it alone. That's where problems could occur. So now that we're familiar with some of the components and some of the scary stats, let's talk about the three pieces of a successful backup power plan. So when you're looking at creating a backup power plan, you're going to need a UPS, one or multiple EBMs, it really just depends on your situation, and a generator. So let's first start by talking about a UPS, which is an uninterruptible power supply. The definition of a UPS is a device that is used to keep computers and equipment safe and running when there is a loss of significant reduction or a loss of power in your primary power source. A UPS houses several batteries that take over when it detects a loss or reduction in available power, and once detected, the control is transferred over to the batteries inside the UPS. The way I like to think of a UPS is like your cell phone. So your cell phone holds a charge when unplugged. It also is the brains and communicates to other objects. That is very similar to what a UPS does. And when you think about it too, we mentioned it earlier, we're not just talking about full power outages, but power surges or brownouts. And a brownout, you'll hear me talk about this, it is where there is just a small voltage drop in the power line and power supply. And what this does is it causes it to go from stable power to unstable. And even a brownout like that, a 5-second brownout can cause huge repercussions to your network. Moving on, let's talk about EBMs. And what those are is external battery modules, and I'll call them EBMs moving forward. But UPS runtime varies based on your load you have on them, and we'll talk about load here in a minute. But most UPS systems have a standard or shorter runtime. If you're needing to achieve a longer runtime, that is where EBMs come into play. What I like to think of EBMs like is an EBM is like a portable phone charger. You know, EBMs aren't portable, but they accomplish the same goal. They're there to provide more juice to the UPS and keep them up and running longer, just like when you plug your cell phone into a portable charging device. They give them just a little more juice to stay up and running longer. And the last component, generators. This is one of the most critical components because this is actually going to help you solve some long-term problems. So if you know your UPS and EBMs are going to keep you up and running for an hour, what if the outage is longer than an hour? A generator is there for long-term outages and helps you sustain business as usual during those outages. Like I said, your UPS has a designated amount of time, but a generator is really there to help ensure no matter how long the outage is, you'll stay up and running. And I always want to illustrate, so I'm a very visual person. So looking at a basic rack, kind of the components of it. On the sides, we've got, this is our data rack. On the sides, we've got our two PDU strips, which PDUs, power distribution units, are basically a glorified power strip, but they're made specifically for data centers and for this network equipment. Here we've got two EBMs up top, and those are our battery modules that are here providing additional runtime. And then our UPS uninterruptible power supply. Underneath that, you're going to have some cooling to make sure all of those are cool enough at their core and make sure that there aren't any issues. So looking at UPS and EBM best practices, a lot of times people will ask us what the lifespan is. So it's really good to understand what the lifespan of the equipment is as you're putting it in or as you're reevaluating if you need to replace. So looking at a UPS, the lifespan is approximately 10 to 15 years. And when I'm talking about the lifespan here, I am talking about a single-phase UPS. There are multiple phase UPSs that you can look at, single-phase, three-phase. But what I mean by single-phase, this is what we're talking about when we're looking at like a data closet. Once you get into data centers, co-location centers, they're looking at three-phase units, and that lifespan is just a little different. So a single-phase UPS is going to be about 10 to 15 years of good life. Our EBMs, however, when you're looking at an EBM, no matter the manufacturer, these battery modules lifespan is about 3 to 5 years. So say 4 years ago, you put in a new system, new UPS, new EBMs, well, guess what? It's time to replace those EBMs. And you're probably wondering, well, what happens if I don't replace them? Think about your cell phone. Once it gets too old, does your phone hold a charge like it should? No, because your battery is starting to burn out. So once you get to that 3, 4, 5 year mark, you really need to get those replaced to ensure that you're getting the runtime that you think you're getting, and then also to ensure that you don't have any thermal runaway damage. Thermal runaway is actually when the batteries can swell and overheat, and it can cause fires or even explosions. So you really want to ensure that you are checking your batteries on an annual basis and having someone come in and service your UPS and EBM to make sure that there are any issues. But again, 3 to 5 years, you need to replace them. Looking at capacity loads, we've talked about this a little bit. Capacity and load at its most basic sense is how much stuff is plugged into your UPS. So when we talk about a UPS, it comes in different sizes. And looking at, we're going to give an example because that's the best way I learn. If you have a 5 kVA unit, which means you have 5,000 watts of available power that UPS can hold, and you are plugging in 3,000 watts into that unit, your load of that unit would be 60% with 20% capacity. And you're probably thinking, well, 60 plus 20 does not equal 100. And you are correct. It is actually recommended to never exceed 80% load long term on a UPS. So your 5 kVA unit could hold up to 4,000 watts. There are times when we're looking at dual redundant systems, and I'll cover that in a moment, where you can put a little more load, but that is only on a temporary basis. Long term, you really shouldn't put more than 80% on your UPS unit. So what happens if you're saying, well, no, I'm looking at my UPS now and I'm at 80%. Well, there's a few things we could do. We could add another UPS, another same 5 kVA, and you can plug some of the items into that to reduce the load on your current system. Or you could upgrade your current system that you have and maybe not look at a 5 kVA, but maybe look at a 10 kVA or a different wattage amount. So they make the bigger kVA units, and again, that's going to give you more runtime because there's less load on it. Again, runtime, we've talked about that. The greater the load, the less runtime. So again, you can either add capacity by adding additional UPS units, or you can actually increase your unit to add more capacity and runtime. Another way to add runtime is to add more EBMs. There really isn't a maximum of EBMs you can add, but you can add as many EBMs as you need to get that runtime that you may need. And our team can calculate that for you. We have great runtime charts. We can actually tell you down to the minute how much runtime you're going to have based on your UPS, how much you're plugging into it, and how many EBMs you have. So if you're curious, you could reach out to us and we can definitely figure that out for you. And again, I mentioned earlier, failover redundant system. So when we're talking about a failover redundant system, this is like creating a backup to the backup system. So I'm going to show you a visual because this is the best way to explain it. A failover redundant system actually pulls power from utility power, over here on the left, the green, and generator power, so they're both plugged in to an automatic transfer switch. The utility power is feeding to the transfer switch as business as usual. If there was a power outage, the automatic transfer switch would detect it and the generator would automatically turn on. It would take care of this. It would be a seamless transition. So that's the first backup, is you have your generator. It can turn on if you lose line power. The next backup is, notice out of the ATS, there's UPS A and UPS B. There are 2 UPS systems that are set up exactly the same to mirror each other exactly. So if UPS A goes down, UPS B can take over. And from here, the UPSs, you've got a static transfer switch, your PDU, and at the bottom all the servers. So one thing I was talking about is you can do a little bit more capacity on a redundant system. You can actually put up to, in a redundant system, up to 45% capacity on each UPS. Think about it though. 45% on UPS A, 45% on UPS B. If UPS A goes down, how much is on UPS B? 45 times 2, 90. So I know we said 80 is the maximum. 90 is okay on a short-term basis. So just keep that in mind. And if you're ever in doubt of how much capacity and load and what, if you're in regulation or if you're where you should be, just reach out to us. We can help you out. Moving on, taking a little switch here, let's talk about the generators. Generator lifespan is 15 to 20 years. So when you're thinking about investing in a generator, it is really a long-term investment in your backup power plan. 15 to 20 years is what your average is you're going to get out of them. And if you think about it, if you maintain them as you should and do constant maintenance as recommended, you might even get longer out of them. When we talk about generators in hospitals, so again, every time there is a power glitch or a power drop and a generator has to turn on for a hospital, you have to actually report that. But there are some other sections that you have to abide by. So your fire marshal will actually want you to abide by the NFPA 110 Section 8. And what this actually says is you need to run your generator once a week with no load. So you turn it on, you run it, no load. And then you need to run it once a month with 30% load. These recommendations are specifically for diesel, but it is recommended as a best practice if natural gas and propane generators are in place, that you still follow these guidelines. When you're looking at maintenance on a generator, it is recommended to do twice a year maintenance. So there's going to be one maintenance where it's more of a visual inspection and a second maintenance check where it's going to be turned on, the gas lines are going to be checked, everything is going to be checked. How is it functioning? How is it responding? How is the control unit, the regulator? So this maintenance is great because this will be checked for you. And if you needed someone and you don't have someone to check your maintenance or to maintain the generators, Predictive actually has great partners that we can provide to you that can do that for you. And the last thing we're going to talk about, I know we already talked about an automatic transfer switch when it came to our previous image, but automatic transfer switch versus manual transfer switch. So one thing you have to look at when you're investing in a generator, are you going to do an automatic transfer switch or a manual switch? One thing you have to ask yourself, how does your power switch on? Is it automatic from line power to your generator, or does your IT team need to go on site, get the generators ready, hook them up, and manually transfer power? If you are doing the latter with a manual transfer switch, do you know how much time this takes? Have you factored in how much backup power or runtime your UPSs have? If you only have a few minutes of runtime, let's say you have 20 minutes of runtime on your UPS, what will happen if it takes 30 minutes for your team to get the generator up and running? What if the generator has an issue? All your networks and servers are going to crash. Everything is going to hard power off. That is a big problem with the manual transfer switch. So if you are looking at which you would like to install, if you're looking at a new generator system, it is always recommended to do an automatic transfer switch, but a manual transfer switch is an option if that is what you choose to go with. Emergencies happen, power surges, lightning strikes, a windstorm, a rainstorm, or a simple power blip or power glitch. And you may experience something as minor as a 10-second glitch, but if you don't have the appropriate backup power system in place, that small storm or glitch could cost you days of recovery work and thousands of dollars. And not only in manpower, but loss of patient care and revenue. Servers and medical equipment don't like losing power or experiencing a forced shutdown. And that forced shutdown can cause damage. As I previously mentioned, they always say never force shut down your equipment. Well, imagine your hospital equipment getting forced shut down. It's not a good thing. Here at Predictive Technology, we understand the diverse challenges you face and are here to help you. We can come out and analyze your current backup power system and provide recommendations and support to ensure you never experience downtime. I do appreciate you for joining us today. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us at our engineering@ptisolutions.com email, or give us a call, or even stop on by. We are located 111th and Q in Omaha, Nebraska. Again, this is Sonia Hugnew, and we really appreciate your time. Have a great day.